Hold on, I got a clip about that.
This is the tale of how the Illuminati invaded and took control of the United States of America. This is the real history of America as you've never seen before. Using new evidence, we will reveal how this massive, secret organization infiltrated the religious groups, political parties, universities, and corporations. How they placed their own people in positions of power and authority. How they manipulated the minds of the masses and did it all from view. This group embraces what is known as the esoteric, the so-called spiritual truth hidden from the rest of us. Over a vast period of time, this secretive organization turned slowly to the dark side of these esoteric truths and utilized them for power and control. They take their orders from the International Secret Council of Nine. They are collectively called the Confederation of Initiates. They are under the strict control of their masters, and to oppose them means punishment worse than death. It has been this way for thousands of years, and they are working slowly, but surely, towards their ultimate goal of a one-world government, with the Nine in control. In this film, we reveal their plans and schemes. We show how the so-called land of free is not free at all, how it is under the yoke of a very large, very powerful, and very secret organization. This is the Illuminati of America. In 1932, the International Secret Council of Nine, who direct the Confederation of Initiates of Illuminati, issued the following highly secret statement to the Order of the Rosicrucians. This is the new dispensation, and the work of the spiritual and mystical fraternities must be re-established throughout the world, so that all peoples may be taught the law and thereby enabled to apply it towards universal improvement as the only means of saving mankind. We, the Council of Nine, have selected your organization as one of the oldest in America to help do this work. This must be brought about in such a manner that there can be no question of personal self-interest. May we suggest that you select as your method that of the pre-Christian Essenian order, in which Jesus was trained, accepting in good faith all students who apply on an absolutely free will basis, instructing them in the ancient manner and permitting these students to compensate you on an exchange basis. The man who wrote these words was the Comte de Saint Vincent, the master of the Council of Nine. This small section reveals a great many things. Firstly, that the Order of the Rosicrucians did indeed come under the rule of the Illuminati. The Rosicrucians were, and still are, a mystical, secretive order, originating in a completely false origin story from the equally false originator, Christian Rosencreutz. It was in fact an organization created by the Illuminati to gather in believers and initiates. It worked beautifully and spread throughout the world, and then spawned yet further secret orders of its own. This, indeed, is how the web is created, and the real origin long forgotten and hidden. Secondly, the text reveals that the Rosicrucians were in fact much older, and the oldest in the USA. Thirdly, they were to use the old methods from the Essene. These were the Gnostic Jews who wrote all the New Testament and other texts that didn't make it into the Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls were written by these mystics. They themselves have their own origin in the much older Egyptian, Syrian, and Eastern cults. It stretches back many thousands of years. Fourthly, they were not this time to be too choosy who they allowed to join. This implies that they used to be, and indeed that is the truth. Now, with the advent of the second wave of a worldwide revolution about to begin with the Second World War, all were to be accepted into the fold for the great work to get underway.
Years of hard training and actual battle experience in Spain and Poland had made the German army look invincible.
This was, and is, a group that is spread throughout the world and have been involved in most of the big revolutions that have occurred, including the French and American revolutions. Dr. Randolph was a man who investigated the order at the time this text was written. He stated, "Many, though by no means all, the alchemists and hermetic philosophers were acolytes of the vast secret brotherhood, which has thrived from the earliest ages. The members of this mystic union were the Magi of old, who flourished in Chaldea ages before. They were the original people of Saba. They were the men who founded the Semitic civilizations. Of this great brotherhood sprung Brahma, Buddha, Lotse, Zoroaster, the Gnostics, the Essene, and Jesus, who was himself an Essene, preached the sacred doctrine of the fountain of light. This fountain of light is the illumination, the inner enlightenment to the reality of existence, and from where the term Illuminati is derived. He continues, they were the men who first discovered the significance of fire. The transcendent light now illuminates the world. Comes from the torches which they lighted at the fountain when all light streameth upon that mystic mountain of initiation. There is nothing original in thaumaturgy, theology, philosophy, psychology, and ontology, but they gave it to the world.
Yeah. You got some live on 99.9. You know what I'm saying? That Kid Tech 9. What you got to say?
Put the lights on the poles and everything. So don't walk around blindly. Don't they see us struggling, dog?
Thank y'all for tuning in.
All I see.
And here goes some more clips from how the ICE agents getting down.
I'm on this page and the tempo is finish it up. Turn nothing in the summer, make it feel different. I know that pain real cause it's still different. They want what for the watch, gets me still flipping. Put a 30 in my Glock, now I still dip. I'm a 10, you from 30, I feel stiff. Niggas like popping fatties, how they still hit. Niggas dissing on the net, but they won't get a man. They don't get a 10, try to knock like who is. We be riding with them rods like we going fish. I got niggas in the fence that I can't be. I want niggas like a stale, we got no bitch. 75 or 8, then I got it dead. We just want to hold it, now I pocket trick. Now I heard prices too high, niggas pissed. Bitch, you better sell some ass, how you broke strip. Niggas say we get that 8, we gon' go ahead. I ain't gonna be fake, I supposed to green in the same. I wanna do it every time I see a body tell me. They want me to shine, they be trying to damn me. Every time I run it out, they be trying to trip me. Praise me, I can tell you how to touch me. Spit that honey too fast, I need a bug six. Slow down, nigga, man, don't do it. I know these niggas mad, they ain't fuck with me. I know these bitches mad, they can't fuck with me. I know these niggas mad that they can't. I know these niggas mad that they ain't. I know these niggas mad that they ain't. If I say if this be my pain. Ooh, what a dream. Ooh, what a dream. There's $1,000 jacket and came with a pack. I had to wear it in the air, but I ain't want to pack it. The niggas say they getting money, I know that they getting it. If I show them my bankroll, they gon' get it stacking. If I tell them what I made, they gon' think I'm capping. And I ain't really bustin' up, I started a couple actors. Drop on that work, this is me back. I did so many turnarounds, I can step back. Nothing in the summer, make it feel different. I know that pain real cause it's still different. They want what for the watch, bitch, still flip. Put a 30 in my
Yeah, that's starting new on the Institutionalized Network.
Let's go. Let's go. You into the second half of this. It's a combination to success with your boy Radio Reggie Dig. I got my homie Iceman in here with me on the side, tagging along. You understand? We got the hits coming up. We're going to give y'all some of this Caribbean vibe. You know what I'm saying? You know, I like Tim's in them. I like Push to Start and stuff like that. You feel me? So we're going to give y'all, keep it going. We're going to keep it hot in here. I'm going to hit you up with some real island music. Get you some third world in here. Yeah. Get you some. Hey, what you need? Hey, what you need? Hey, what you need? What you need? Call me. North BT. Niggas just call me. Hey, what you need? What you need? And I got what you want. Make them lean, make them speed, make them nod, make them fall. And they ain't for them games when the spring, summer, fall. Second bands, bitch, until I got them all. What you need, and I got what you want. Make them lean, make them speed, make them nod, make them fall. And a hand for them bands when the spring, summer, fall. Second bands, bitch, until I got them all. And what you need, and I got what you want. In a hand, I do another one more. When you're living like me, you don't fuck about the law. You don't mean, get them all, man, that's all my niggas know. Never learned how to cook shit, but some fucking coke. I can buy real well, nigga, tell me what you want. Everything ain't one and everything must go. If you meet me in the shot, I can get it for the low. If I meet you on the north, I'ma need a little more. Tell me what you wanna do, wanna ski or wanna flow. Wanna blast all day, or you wanna take it slow. Pick your poison, let me know. Don't drink all of this at once. I need all my cash up front. I can do no fucking fronts. Cause the rent is what I want. You either want it or you don't. Either got that cash you don't. Or you don't. Adios, amigos. I gotta go. And what you need, and I got what you want. Make them lean, make them speed, make them nod, make them fall. And a hand for them bands when the spring, summer, fall. Second bands, bitch, until I got them all. What you need, and I got what you want. Make them lean, make them speed, make them nod, make them fall. And a hand for them bands when the spring, summer, fall. Second bands, bitch, until I got them all. Hey, what you need, nigga? North BT, nigga.
Agenda. Instead of Make America Healthy Again, it's the Make America Hungry agenda. It's weaponizing food, using food as a weapon against America's most vulnerable families. In my state of Oregon, you're talking about 210,000 children. You're talking about 130,000 seniors. All told, over 700,000 people going without food. Congress said this should never happen. So we created a contingency fund. That fund has $5 billion in it. We created an interchange power so the president can actually use tariff funds to supplement that $5 billion. And here's the president of the United States last month acknowledging that that's the intent of Congress. If these funds exist, people will not go hungry. And now here's the president today saying, I am going to attack the health and welfare of America's most vulnerable families as a negotiating tactic. It reminds me of his strategy over immigration. They were going to separate children from their parents. We'll use children as a weapon. Well, here it is once again. And it's absolutely unacceptable. So, the president has the power to address this. And a group of attorney generals are saying, because it's the law, we're going to sue to say the president has to follow the law. Some 26 attorney generals are suing, saying, President, follow the law. We're saying, follow the law. His Republican colleagues, 11 in the Senate, are saying it matters that children not go hungry. You know, when children don't have food, they also don't learn. So it's not just an attack on their ability to have basic nutrition for a month. And who in the United States says, I'm going to make sure children go hungry for a month as a political tactic. Who says it? Except this president in this time. It's unethical, it's immoral, it's illegal, and we're here to say, hell no. The Democrats and Republicans must join together and tell the president this cannot happen here, not in our nation, not against our children, not against our families.
The Republican leader in the House has given his members a 6-week paid vacation. So here we are in the middle of a government shutdown. Workers are not getting paid. People are worried about escalating healthcare costs. People are being worried about being thrown off the healthcare they have. And the Republicans in the House are saying, hey guys, take a 6-week paid vacation. You don't have to be here in Washington, D.C. To me, that is pretty insane. And let me be clear what it would mean if Republicans got their way and this so-called CR, continuing resolution, were to pass. First, it would throw 15 million Americans off the health care they have because of massive cuts to Medicaid and the ACA. And what studies from Yale and University of Pennsylvania and elsewhere indicate that when you throw 15 million working class and low-income people off the health care they have, 50,000 of them will die unnecessarily every year. So what this legislation is about is whether we vote to allow 50,000 of our fellow Americans to die unnecessarily every year because they were thrown off of Medicaid and the ACA. Further, if the Republicans were to prevail, what it means is that on average, health insurance premiums for the 20 million plus people on the Affordable Care Act, on average, would double. In my state of Vermont, we have now received information there are some people who would pay a tripling or a quadrupling of their health care premiums when Americans are already paying the highest prices in the world for health care. People cannot afford a doubling or a tripling in their health care premiums. And now what brings us here today, in an absolutely unbelievable way, President Trump is refusing to release the $5 billion in emergency funding for SNAP that helps feed 16 million kids, and that is a direct violation of the law. He is prepared to let millions and millions of children and their parents and grandchildren go hungry if he sees maybe there is a political gain in that. Let there be no mistake, and that is what this statement is about. This is on the U.S. Department of Agriculture website until very recently. The president is legally obligated to use this emergency fund, and up until last week, his administration was preparing to do that. We are here today to send a very loud and a very clear message to President Trump. Obey the law. I know that's a hard concept for the president, but obey the law. Do what Congress mandated you do. Do not let children in America and their parents and grandchildren go hungry. Do not go down as the first president in history to manufacture a hunger crisis in the richest country on earth. Release these funds. Now, the good news is there are at least 11 Republicans in the Senate who are supporting a bipartisan bill to ensure that no one in America goes without the nutrition assistance they need during the shutdown. And that is very good news, and I thank those 11 Republicans. Every Democrat supports that bill as well. That bill, I say to Senator Thune, when you have 11 Republicans and every member of the Democratic caucus on support, that bill should get to the floor immediately. No child in this country should be forced to go.
His choice is to hurt single mothers trying to feed their children, to hurt veterans who served our country, to hurt seniors on fixed incomes, to hurt Americans suffering from disabilities, to hurt working families trying to make the ends meet, And as I continue to say, working hard is not enough if you don't make enough. Donald Trump, he's the deal maker, we've heard. Well, where the hell is the great deal maker now? Democrats, well, we're in Washington. This week we're here, and we aren't on vacation like the Republicans. We're ready to make a deal, Mr. Deal Maker. We're ready to make a bipartisan deal that, first of all, would keep SNAP funded, that would reopen the government, that would extend the ACA tax credits, and end the pain that's being inflicted on American people.
You're going to meet with the attorneys general later today. I'm wondering if you're hoping that the lawsuit that's been filed will be taken up by the courts, and so that they might issue something that the administration has to issue the benefits on Saturday. And then the second question is, after you meet with these attorneys general, are you planning any kind of media availability?
I would say, with respect to the second part of your question, we will engage with our colleagues, the attorney generals who are proceeding with this lawsuit. House Democrats have a litigation task force that we assembled earlier this year, and so we'll continue to consult with them and provide any updates at the appropriate time in terms of any actions that House Democrats might take in support of that litigation. I'm certainly hopeful for a quick ruling because, as you've heard, the urgency is very real on the ground for the families that we represent, that we're so privileged to serve. And I thought Representative Brown articulated so well the real urgency in Cleveland.
It is immoral and it is illegal. See, this is what happened when people in power only care about people with perceived power. It is time for the White House to release the funds. It is time for Republicans to take the locks off the doors of the House chamber. And instead of doing the extreme right-wing thing for Donald Trump, it is time for my Republican colleagues to do the right thing for the people we represent. Reopen the government, release the funds, and cancel the cuts.
November 1st is just 3 days away. That's the day when SNAP benefits stop being added to EBT cards for 40 million Americans because Trump and MAGA Republicans refuse to use a $5.5 billion emergency fund to make sure families get to eat. Some of those families are already having to ration what's left on their cards because they fear nothing is coming on November 1st. That's the same day they have to pay rent. Maybe the same day they have to pay their electricity bill or refill grandma's prescription. It's 3 days until millions of families across the country wake up unable to stock the pantry. 3 days until thousands of military families and veterans will see their food aid disappear. It's the richest country in the world. When a CEO billionaire just got $1 trillion in tax breaks, Trump and his Republican allies in Congress will allow babies to go hungry. Trump just found $40 billion to bail out Argentina to get the new president elected, but he can't find enough to feed struggling American families. It is a national disgrace. In Massachusetts, 1.1 million people will struggle to put food on their tables starting Saturday. That's 1 in 6 people in our state. 1 in 3 SNAP recipients in Massachusetts is a child. At the Stop and Shop in Malden, 3 blocks from my house, right now it's $4.29 for a gallon of store brand whole milk. It's $7.55 for 1 pound of store brand ground beef. It's $4.99 for a dozen store brand large white eggs. And all a SNAP recipient gets is $6 to $7 a day. That's it. And they're going to cut.
In order for these funds to be released, it is the law. Let me repeat it. It is the law. The Trump administration is required to release those funds today. That is why the administration is now embroiled in federal litigation in federal court in Massachusetts that I ultimately think will be successful. And the administration will be compelled eventually to release those funds. The question is whether that decision will happen before families go hungry or after. That's really, in my view, the stakes. Yes, sir. And then we'll go.
Thank you, sir. If we come to November 1st and these contingency funds haven't been released, if nothing has been accomplished in restoring SNAP benefits, will you call on your Democratic colleagues to reopen the government and deal with these shutdown crises immediately, deal with healthcare conversations once the government is reopened?
So let me ask you a question. The basis for your question is, and maybe the better way to state it would be, if the Trump administration continues to violate the law, if the Trump administration unlawfully refuses to release funds so that families in Colorado don't go hungry, if the Trump administration refuses to follow the law as they have for the better course of the last 9 months, violating statute after statute, if in that scenario these actions unfold, then how will Democrats respond? That, my view, would be a more fair characterization of the question that you posed, because it does feel a little bit like we're in the twilight zone here, with an administration that is lawless, violates the law with impunity, is now doing so with respect to the release of funds for families that may go hungry. We're here in Washington, you're here in Washington, House Republicans are gone, 6 weeks and counting, gone, literally gone. Won't show up in Washington, won't do town halls back in their respective districts. And somehow the question is posed to House Democrats as to how we will respond. The Trump administration needs to follow the law. And insofar, you've heard all my colleagues repeatedly suggest we would like to negotiate an agreement in good faith with our Republican colleagues. That is why we're here in our nation's capital. The question should be posed to Republicans: when will they get serious about working with us in good faith so that we can reach an agreement? And you know, the passion you hear is frustration with the fact that Republicans could just simply abandon their post for 6 weeks, that the Trump administration can just violate the law without consequence. It should offend everyone. It certainly offends me.
Well, so if they don't follow the law,
I'm going to jump up here to the next question. Yes, sir.
How are you thinking of this in the broader context? Like, how do you balance the needs of your constituents who you're saying you're fighting for healthcare for with, you know, the needs of the constituents who could very much go hungry in the coming days?
Well, first I would say I reject the premise of that particular question. They are not mutually exclusive. We are fighting for working families across our country, and I think the American people recognize that. But again, just to reinforce this point that you heard from Ranking Member Craig and all of my colleagues, with respect to SNAP funding in particular, it is a conscious, deliberate choice that the administration is making to not release the funds that have been appropriated for that purpose. That is why 26 states are suing the Trump administration and Secretary Robbins. Does anyone here not believe that with one phone call from Speaker Johnson, one phone call to the President of the United States or the Secretary of Agriculture, that those funds would be released tomorrow?
Because this is not a partisan issue. If you're hungry, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or you claim no party affiliation at all. But we should be concerned, most especially because almost half of the people that we're talking about are children. They're going to bed hungry every night. I have 164,000 people in my district who are food insecure. 50% of those are children. And so this is not a partisan issue. It doesn't really matter what you're, it's not about a blue state or a red state. It's a red, white, and blue issue. It's an American issue. Feeding people is a basic right. And when you talk about those $6 a day, nobody here could survive, even as a supplement. It's a supplement. But this is an emergency. And so we have an emergency fund. That's what emergency funds are for. And so the question should be, we should ask our Republicans, are you going to allow your constituents in your districts to go hungry? Because they are.
It's on Saturday. And so there are children and there are elders, some of which are homebound and otherwise unable to get access to food, who literally will not have food on Saturday. This is an emergency. That is why there is an emergency contingency plan. So even if that cannot fund groceries for the entire month of November, it will make sure that those children and those seniors don't starve on Saturday. Does that make sense?
All this shit could be gone tomorrow. If I go out today, I'll be on my own tomorrow. You could be gone tomorrow. Make the wrong movies treat you like a pawn. I remember I used to want them all. I ain't had no blood up I can call. Me and my niggas run it all. When we see the time, we ain't gonna fall. I'm about myself to do all the ball. You gon' see me pull up in a phone call. Me and my niggas want it all. Get on the sticks together, we ain't falling off. We ain't falling off. We ain't falling off. Nigga want war, we ain't gon' call it off. Put your shit on flat, now you can't ball it off. Call animal and Bruce, bro, we ballin' off. After lean, I did it like the foreign in the fall. The internet capping you do, you should have a blog. Ain't got no time to waste, most these bitches like to stall. All this foolish shit you doing, nigga, you should be the law. Playing with my bread, that's what's gonna get you Peter on. Told you don't need a hoe if you gotta be the hoe. First I gotta see the dough, then you get the peace. Chopper make a nigga hit a no like the shit key. If I go out today, I'll be on my own tomorrow. You could be gone tomorrow. Make the wrong movies treat you like a pawn. I remember I used to want them all. I ain't had no blood up I can call. Me and my niggas want it all. When we see the time, we ain't gonna fall. I'm by myself to do all the ball. You gon' see me pull up in a phone call. Me and my niggas want it all. Get on the sticks together, we ain't falling off.
Stunt New on Institutionalized Network. Go on YouTube, check him out. iHeartRadio, all them other things. You know how I do. Stunt New. Yo. So basically what they saying is it's against the law not to send out the SNAP benefits. And they still gonna do it. I was tripping because I seen the president kicking it. He was over in China, kicking it with the veterans, wishing on to be the war commander. He didn't want to be commander, he want to be an admiral. So he want to let somebody else make the decisions and he do the killing. That's the vision. We got a clip for you. Right? It's not what I'm feeling, it's what he said. Man, y'all want to get into the FBI right quick? Let's check them out. I know the SNAP benefits hit you, but let's take the FBI out. We're just going to show a few clips.
Don't think the National Guard's going to help in what I've seen. They're not trained in law enforcement, are they? No, sir. And so that could be a problem. Who will direct the National Guard in Memphis? Will it be, will they have control over your agents?
No, sir. That breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. Most organizations that end up being used to prey on children, Oxfam is a recent example, all of the United Nations organizations, the Boy Scouts of America, all of the child services agencies across the United States of America, they did not start out as organizations to prey on children, but they attract pedophiles. And ultimately, pedophiles end up rising in the ranks and controlling those organizations. So that an organization that initially started out in the service of children becomes an organization that is in fact hunting children. These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell.
Of information. It's a serious number of crimes.
Sir, I couldn't agree with you more. We've been very public about asking individuals to come forward with new information. We would run out every single lead on that.
Well, I'm sure the women will come forward, especially today, to be sure that they can get an opportunity. That's the Mr. Driscoll, what was his reputation?
I can't comment on Mr. Driscoll's matter. It's an ongoing litigation.
Yeah, but his reputation you could tell us about.
I can't tell you about his reputation. His work has been laid out in that lawsuit.
And the last document, Wall Street Journal article, highlights Ehud Barak's 36 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was the former Prime Minister of Israel and head of military intelligence for Israel. They may have held that title when he met Epstein, and then, yes.
Objection. The gentleman will hold for a second. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one UC request. This is Judge Engelmayer's decision from August in U.S. versus Epstein, stating the government's 100,000 pages of Epstein files dwarfs the 70-odd pages of Epstein grand jury materials.
No objection. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, you've seen most of the files, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007, and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to the Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to the Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank. Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files, bring forth any credible information. We're working with Congress on all of that information and produce it to you. But any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of 2 different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials at one time.
The 302 documents in the FBI's possession,
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
and so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names? I named one today.
I said, we are not in the practice of just FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I gotta move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
Yes.
The So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the case as well.
But who? That is, I mean, you know, that's under direct control.
It's not just sitting. I mean, that's over power times 10.
And to me, that's the thing I think President Trump can run on day one. We'll not go black.
In contrast to that attitude of let it all out, we're getting reports of actions that are going contrary to getting everything out and that also involve diversions of FBI resources. For example, an FBI whistleblower reported that you were pressured by the Attorney General to place 1,000 personnel on 24-hour shifts to mine roughly 100,000 Epstein-related records to redact President Trump's name from the files. Bloomberg reported this, that you directed FBI special agents from the New York and Washington field offices to join the Bureau's FOIA employees in Winchester and another building a few miles away. And that while reviewing the Epstein files, FBI personnel identified numerous references to Trump in the documents, and people familiar with the matter said that Trump's name, along with other high-profile individuals, was blacked out. Now, the New York Times reports, and this is a quote, Justice Department officials devoted hundreds of FBI employees and federal prosecutors from their regular duties to go through the documents at least 4 times, including once to flag any references to Mr. Trump and other prominent figures. Details of the review were based on accounts by 3 former FBI and Justice Department officials who spoke on condition of anonymity because of fears of
Have you held any
retaliation.
stock in any companies founded in China?
I don't believe so.
Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Co. Don't you?
Which one, sorry?
Elite Co. You own stock.
I think that's, I'll have to get back to that because I'm off for a minute. It's a company out of Singapore.
Okay, well, no, the company out of Singapore, which is owned by Elite Co, is the Shein Company, which was founded in China. Correct?
That company operates out of Taiwan.
And they changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes. But it's owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhu. And you own stock in the company that owns Shein.
Which I disclosed during my confirmation
You
process.
certainly did. And now, do you still hold that stock in that Chinese company?
Pursuant to the Department of Justice who reviewed my material that was submitted during my confirmation process, I was able to hold certain stocks that they made the
You
decision.
still hold the stocks?
Dude in the FBI can't say he know nothing. He don't know nothing. Nothing at all. But the numbers that he did. He know his numbers, but he don't know nothing else. Everything is under investigation and they can't speak on it, locked up somewhere, and they can't leak on it. But the lawyer that's on the team say, hey, it's not locked up. Show us the paperwork. Man, them Epstein files must have really been something. Now we gonna check out, I was about to say King Trump, but now we gonna check out the elected official that's here to represent, out kicking it while the government shut down. And the Republicans out somewhere playing in the White Sands, because you know most people work to go to the White Sands 2 weeks out their life, but they at the White Sands for the last 6 weeks. Check out the president and how he kicked it.
This is the USDebtClock.org. I wanted to give this as an honorable mention for those who don't really understand or look at the United States debt. This is in real time. If you go to usdebtclock.org, you will see the U.S. national debt, which is over $31 trillion. There's a debt per citizen. You will see the U.S. federal tax revenue. You will see the income tax revenue. You will see the payroll tax revenue. You will go all the way down to the U.S. total debt. Personal favorite of mine. Look at that number. Look at it tick in real time. Are you counting? 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion, 92 trillion, 795 billion, 741 million, and counting in the United States total debt in real time. I think we should start looking at how we can maneuver our money, because this ship is sinking. And this is freaking crazy. Everything from bankruptcies to manufacturing jobs to the currency and credit derivatives, and the area I do like, actually, which is helping you to see exactly how much silver is worth. $874 per ounce. Gold, $6,439 per ounce. Dollar to gold ratio. All of this is something that we should study. Please make sure you go to the usdebtclock.org so that you can understand that it is imperative that you start to look at how to move your debt dollars from the United States corporation, the paper fiat money from the Federal Reserve, into some gold and into some silver, because everything is going down, or should I say going up in this case, which is negative, which is not a good thing. Please make sure you start to invest in some gold and silver, land, and all these other things, because this right here is freaking crazy.
I was tripping because I seen the president kicking it. He was over in China, kicking it with the veterans.
Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot. Check the swag out flash, it'll make the party riot.
President Trump was asked if there were extremists on both the left and the right. He was actually asked this by Fox and Friends, and his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy. Do you agree with the president?
I don't speak for the president. The president speaks for himself.
You agree with the president?
On what matter?
On the question that I just asked, you agree with his statement about the radical left?
That there's ideology that's driving violence on both sides? Yes, that's what he acknowledged.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But I'm glad that you're saying that and actually creating some separation between you and the president. And I'm glad that you are acknowledging that there is violent extremism on both sides. What's interesting is that the research arm of the Department of Justice, the National Institute of Justice, do you know what that is?
I'm familiar with them.
Okay, great. It is the research arm of the Department of Justice, and it published an article in 2024 devoted to domestic radicalization, violent extremism, and terrorism. I have it. It's interesting that it's no longer on the website. It has been scrubbed, but I ask these questions because what makes a strong, qualified director of any business, of any household, of the FBI, what makes a reputable prosecutor is not lapdog loyalty, but a commitment to the creed that evidence is agnostic and that the evidence will lead you to making the right decisions. And your job, no one's job is to like the data or the evidence, it is to collect it. That is how you gain trust. And Mr. Chair, I would like to enter into the record, if I may. White supremacist group stands by racist ideology.
Without objection.
Dylan Roof, the radicalization of the alt-right and ritualized racial violence.
Without objection.
Thank you. Another article, how Robert Bowers went from conservative to white nationalist. Enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Patrick Cruces believed he was fulfilling Trump's wishes in El Paso attack, his attorney said. Like to enter into the record.
Without objection.
Buffalo shooting, how far-right killers are radicalized online.
Without objection.
Evergreen high school shooters online activity reveals fascination with mass shootings. White supremacy. Like to enter that?
Without objection.
Murder and extremism in the United States in 2024. A report by the Anti-Defamation League. Like to enter that?
Without objection.
And the article, the report that was scrubbed from the DOJ just recently. National Institute of Justice Journal focusing on domestic radicalization, violent extremism, and terrorism. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
And lastly, the libertarian think tank Cato and their analysis on violent extremism and the right rising in extremist act. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Kelly.